So what makes me cranky about Dunkirk? There are virtually no female, minority, transgender, or dinosaur characters. Clearly, they should have time traveled to the past and inserted these people into the historic event so that we could have the just and proper balance of skin colors and genders that reflects our population today. To do otherwise only serves to further the patriarchal oppression perpetuated by white cisgendered males. That's actually only partially sarcasm, because not only are there essentially no female, minority, transgender, or dinosaur characters in this movie, but there aren't really any characters at all. This movie has so little dialogue and jumps around so much that you really never get to know anyone. Since getting to know someone is kind of part and parcel to empathizing with them enough to care what happens to them, kind of ruins everything Christopher Nolan is trying to do with this movie. I think Nolan is really what makes me cranky about Dunkirk. As far as I'm concerned, Christopher Nolan is one of the most overrated filmmakers in Hollywood today. Every time he makes a movie, people crow that it's a brilliant masterpiece that completely changes the genre, but virtually all of them are just style over substance. He's like the boring version of Zack Snyder. Both of them are really good at creating visually interesting sequences, but Nolan sucks all the energy out of everything with slow, meandering, and otherwise idiotic attempts at being metaphorical. Like many artsy filmmakers, he often confuses leaving questions unanswered with being deep. Sure, people have to think about your movie when you do that, but only in as much as they have to make up their own answers in order to make the film work at all. Actual deep movies reveal themselves in layers while still being exciting, whereas Nolan just creates some gimmick and then makes the audience fill in the blanks. Dunkirk's gimmick only works for about the first 5 minutes before it just gets old, and that gimmick is telling the story from 3 different points in time using 3 different points of view, but cut together as if they were happening simultaneously. The setup for this is extremely clunky since we're told about it via text, and it took me a minute to realize what was going on, but for a little while it does manage to transfer the actual tension of being an hour from annihilation to the parts that aren't especially tense a day and a week earlier. This should all have eventually come together in a rousing moment of victory as the past catches the present, but it just never happens because Nolan doesn't know when to stop jumping around. We keep getting the story from different moments and different perspectives that add basically nothing to what we already saw. It ends up being just a less thrilling version of the Avengers tracking shot that proves all of these people are all actually in the same place in the end. It eventually just starts to backfire since you stop worrying about the 1 week and the 1 day guys since you start seeing they're still around at the 1 hour mark, thereby robbing the previous time periods of any sense of impending doom. You know these guys are going to be alive, so what's the point of worrying about them? Instead of a harrowing tale of beleaguered soldiers narrowly escaping the jaws of the German war machine thanks to the bravery of ordinary British civilians, you get a bunch of disjointed moments in time with characters who rarely speak, and when they do, it's not to reveal anything about themselves. When somebody dies, it has absolutely no weight because there's zero reason to care about that person. You just haven't spent any time doing anything with them. I don't think most of them even got names, and if they did, they didn't stick with me. I just remember, Tom Hardy was the pilot guy. Worse, unlike, say, Interstellar or The Dark Knight Rises, Dunkirk doesn't even do us the favor of having ridiculous things to mock and turn into memes. Like Bane's funny voice. Since it's based on a historical event that anyone with a passing familiarity of World War II should know about, there's no intrigue like The Prestige or Memento, and there's certainly no insanely captivating performances like Heath Ledger's Joker to really draw you into the whole thing. Dunkirk even makes me pine for the days of Inception's blah, because Hans Zimmer's score for this movie sounds like an air raid siren going off half the time, at least when it's not ticking or doing everything else in its power to try and keep you as tense as possible for the entire runtime. It actually works against the otherwise amazing sound design where loud, sharp cracks of gunfire are legitimately startling and actually do have you on the edge of your seat waiting for the next one. Because nobody can maintain that maximum level of tension for that long, so it's just exhausting, and not in a good empathize with the poor guys on the beach way. For that you need some occasional levity, of which this film has none, and those other quiet little human moments between characters that allow you to actually connect with them, so when things get legitimately tense, you can actually worry about them. Essentially, it's a version of Syndrome's axiom that when everyone is super, no one will be. Well, when everyone is in danger all the time, nobody is. It just becomes a boring routine with increasingly diminishing returns. Oh no, another ship sank. I think one of our main characters might be in danger of drowning again. At least, I think that's one of our main characters. He was the guy in brown with the dark hair, right? So to sum up, Dunkirk was a boring, drawn-out, overlong, overhyped waste of one of history's great turning points. I've seen History Channel specials that have more energy than this movie, so if you really want to be immersed in this particular moment in time, go watch one of those instead of wasting your money seeing this in the theater. I will add one caveat that I think this movie may end up being divisive in so much as if it does manage to hook you at the beginning, it may just be able to keep you hooked until the end. In which case, yeah, it'll be the best thing ever. But as you can probably tell, hooked I was not. That's what I thought about Dunkirk anyway. As always, you may flame away at me in the comments below. Though many old and famous folks have fallen or may fall into the grip of Nolan fanboyism and all the odious apparatus of his films, we shall not flag or fail. We shall go on until the end. We shall review in France. We shall review on the seas and the oceans. We shall review with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our opinion, whatever the cost may be. We shall review on the beaches. We shall review on the landing grounds. We shall review in the fields and in the streets. We shall review in the hills. We shall never surrender. And if, which I do not for a moment believe, this channel were unsubbed and unliked, then our channel would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new viewers, with all their power and might, step forth to like and subscribe.